Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to another really insightful episode of the Healist podcast. I'm really thrilled to have with us today an incredible expert to talk about holistic health and fertility, a subject that's really, truly close to my heart, and I think to many other people. I'm sure a lot of our listeners. So we here having with us today Dr. Aumatma. And she's a double board certified naturopathic endocrinologist, and she's really revolutionizing fertility care. And after witnessing countless of couples struggling with invasive treatments, she pioneered a functional approach and that addresses the root causes without drugs or financial strain. And she helped hundreds of medically hopeless couples conceive naturally. And that's one of the reasons I was really excited to bring her on this podcast and really give people that light of hope. And in addition to that, and beyond her clinical practice, Dr. Aumatma has trained hundreds of physicians and authored a best-selling book, and she hosts an award-winning podcast of her own. So we're really thrilled to have you with us. And I like to set intention for each episode. And I think it's one of the missions of this podcast, also give people other alternatives, give people
hmm
other choices. And I know firsthand, as I struggled with my own infertility a few years back, I felt like I had no choice. And the only other choice was very invasive and very heavy on my body. So I love that there is now people like yourself who are coming out and spokespeople for this issue that is affecting so many people. But you're not just coming out with a solution that is one-sided, you're coming out with a holistic approach. So I would like to just shed some light on other options that are out there, right? And then
Yeah,
highlight the fact that how powerful we are as women and how our bodies are, and empower our listeners on this journey. So that's my intention.
amazing. Amazing. Thank you for having me, Yuli. I'm very excited and I am aligned with your intention for today.
Amazing. So let's talk about fertility and holistic healing, right? Oftentimes they don't go hand in hand. Like I mentioned, most of the times, firsthand experience, when you're experiencing infertility, first of all, you're labeled as infertility, which
Yeah,
is
which is a
which,
problem to begin
which
with.
is a
Yeah.
problem we should talk about. And two, you automatically put it down this path that is very invasive and taxing on your body.
hmm
Can
Yeah.
you talk about where does holistic healing come into that process and how do you approach that and infertility in general?
Yeah, I think that really the healing and the holistic approach can come in on all levels. So I don't think it's just like, let's bring it in once you have a diagnosis. But even for me, it starts way before we think about having babies. And if we can create that mindset of, hey, I'm going to do what I can do, what's in my power to do to optimize my body to prepare it for future fertility, then I'm going to live a better life because everything that you will do in order to get fertile will also help you feel amazing in your body. And on, and then like if and when I start trying and if I have issues, then I am looking for an understanding that is deeper than the fix that's offered. And the fix is interesting because IUI and IVF almost never, except for two specific scenarios, and we can talk about what those are. But in most people's cases, they are not actually solving a problem that is identified. It's just like, oh, this is not happening, so we'll fix it for you, right? And there's no awareness of what are all the things that can be happening under the surface. And fertility is very interesting because our body in every other area can function, will function, has backup mechanisms to function. Reproduction doesn't. And there's a really, I believe, a really good reason for that. And that is, for example, if our heart were to stop functioning, our body would be trying many different things before it actually gets to the point of stop function. So infertility is different because humanity, me as an individual on this planet, can survive without reproducing. Humanity as a whole can't survive without reproducing, but me as an individual, I can. So reproduction is, I believe, like one of the only places where we can shut it off and not have any repercussion to our day to day survival on this planet. And that's why I believe so much that our impetus, it can be survival or reproduction, but it can't be both. So anytime we shift into survival mode, anytime we're in fight or flight, anytime we are feeling unsafe in our bodies, the wisest thing that our body chooses to do is shut off reproduction. And it's doing it as a protective mechanism, right? If it's not safe, if there's a lion chasing me, I probably shouldn't be pregnant right now, right? Through evolution, it never made sense for us to be able to reproduce in times of distress. Yet, so many of us are distressed on a
Yeah,
very basic level all the time. So reproduction shuts off. It's like it is our body trying to make the best decision that it can given the information that it has.
absolutely. And I can tell you firsthand, and I wish I met you when I was going through my infertility issues because I was completely in a survival mode, building a startup company, all in, everything on the line, solo founder, and then trying to conceive without even thinking how those two can interfere with each other.
Yeah. 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 And we don't think about it often that way, right? As women, we take on this identity of, well, I want to do it all. I'm going to do it now. And often the overcoming of that is still at a cost to us in some ways. So when we say holistic, I want to ground it down to like, this is fertility is one of the places where our body absolutely needs every other part of it to function optimally before it kicks back reproduction online. And we've found amazing technology to like overcome and kind of make up for the fact when it's not working. But I feel like we really have to rethink how we think about the technological options that we have. And I'm not saying they're bad. I think they're amazing. And I've seen them do really incredible things. But it's often as a compensation rather than like, let's get to the root of why your body thinks it's not safe. Why is it in survival? And if we can shift you out of that, most of the time reproduction will kick back online. Sometimes in my practice, I've found that there are times when reproduction kicks back on, but still this couple can't conceive in the timeline that they want. And in that case, IVF is totally reasonable, right? We've done everything. You're at optimal. Your body's still not conceiving on your timeline because you're like, I want to have had a baby 3 years ago, So in that case, it's like, okay, well, we've done all the things. Now go to IVF and it's going to likely be more successful and you can time it the way that you want to. So I think that there is a place where we really could benefit from looking at all of the underlying factors, seeing how every like if we're thinking about all the factors, gut, thyroid, adrenals, blood sugar, insulin, methylation in the body, foundational things are working optimally before we go to try to have a child, then most of the time it will be easier.
Well, I think most people probably skip that step, right? To looking inwards and
Mm,
analyzing.
mhm.
Yes, there's the blaming and you do start feeling inadequate, but they maybe fail to go that extra step. Okay, let's analyze what's in my lifestyle that is not working right now and what I'm in control of that I can do today, and it doesn't need to be like all or nothing, right? We're not asking women to quit their jobs and stressful lives.
Yes,
And um,
absolutely.
my question to you is like, how do we balance that, and what does that process look like of actually just maybe give some examples of adjusting lifestyle very easily that can lead to that successful outcome?
Yeah. Yeah, I there were a couple of things I want to address with what you just said. So first is we I will challenge us when shame or guilt or the self-deprecation that arises in the fertility journey, I want to offer a reframe. And the reframe is it is not because of you that your reproduction is shut off. It is your body trying to protect yourself and your future child. And if we can flip from that shame to gratitude of like, oh my God, my body is like really aware that something is out of whack and it shouldn't reproduce and allow me to reproduce right now. And as soon as you take that perspective on, you say, oh my God, I'm so grateful for my body because it knows, even though I didn't tell it, I didn't like have to say anything to say, don't make me pregnant right now. It's just happening because your body wants the best for you as well as your future generation. So I think it's like we really can repurpose this feeling that it's like a natural feeling that comes up like, oh, something's wrong with me. I'm broken. Something's off. But really, like the magic I feel in our body just knowing that this is not a good time. And there are hundreds of tests that we can do that can prove or support what your body is saying. So this is not like, oh, well, I can't get pregnant. And Dr. Aumatma said, just like be grateful that I can't get pregnant. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like that awareness helps to open a line of thinking and query that can really uncover for us what is happening under the surface and put science behind it rather than like some woo-woo idea. It's like every almost everyone. I'm still looking forward to meeting a couple that we can do all of the testing on and they have nothing that is a clear indicator of why they're not getting pregnant. So, with the number of people that get diagnosed with quote unquote, for those you can't see me, unexplained infertility, uh, it is really like we're not looking deep enough if we're saying that someone has unexplained infertility because every single time, even with I had a 28-year-old female and I like on the surface everything looked great. Even her hormones look great on the surface. And doctors were telling her, "Oh, it's your age," but they've been trying to get pregnant for 3 years. To me, like I'm like, I don't understand. You look fine. You look healthy. You guys have a healthy lifestyle. I'm not understanding. And we do the blood work, and her cortisol is at the bottom of the barrel, like almost non-existent. And I said to her, have you had a really tough life? Like you're so young, yet like your cortisol reserves look like you're 60. And she starts crying and she's like, "Oh my God, how did you know that? Like, how did you know?" And she's like, "My life has been horrendous." Like, and then she goes into like all of the traumas that she's experienced. And like, I'm there weeping with her because, like, oh my God, you've been through so much. Of course, your reproduction is shut off. Of course, your body is like craving someone to just like pay attention and restore your reserves before it goes on to have a child. So it's really like having done this for 20 years, I feel like there's so much that I have seen that brings me to this awe that our bodies know better than we do about when it's the right time, what's the right thing for us, right? Like our body's making these decisions without our brain being involved.
Right. No, I mean, I couldn't agree more with you. It's so true. And thank you for sharing that story. I think a lot of listeners could resonate with that because we all have some sort of trauma, right? That's the point of our existence to experience those things. But
Experience the hard things.
what point it actually interferes with our desire to create new life, and then how do we go about it? Because we also know anyone who's ever been on a holistic healing journey, it's like endless process, right? You can probably
Yeah.
process that trauma now for years. And so I'm curious, how do you approach cases like that, that okay, there's this heavy trauma that needs to be processed, but also how do we do that in a way that still allows this couple to do that, I would say, pretty quickly. Again, not putting timelines on it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't take a lifetime and they do have to get to experience a child.
Absolutely. And for her, like, it's totally possible, right? What they realized as I talked to them, she has this particular couple, very interesting story. Her husband is an Air Force pilot, and they live in California, but he gets deployed like every 3 or 4 weeks. He's all away for a week in like fighter planes where he could be strike down at any minute. So it's not just her old trauma. Like almost every time he's deployed, she's going into fear and survival that he's not
It
going to come
triggers
back.
that, right?
Yeah. And he like they've been together since middle school. They're like the sweetest couple. And she's like, he's my person in this world. Like he's all I have. And if I lose him, I will literally be destroyed. And um that degree of fear and survival, I was like, listen, you guys can try to have a baby right now, but I would really work on rebuilding and replenishing, and I said to the guy, like, helping her find safety in your relationship even while you're away, even while you're deployed, creating some structures around you guys so that she can feel safe regardless, and simultaneously like replenish, restore. And if you guys didn't try for a little while, and he's going to be, I think he's done with his like Air Force duty in like 18 months. So I was like, so if you spent that 18 months not trying to reproduce, but instead really focused on helping replenish her from the bottom up and restoring all of her body's function, all of the things that are like barely functioning in order for her to survive, what would that look like? Would that be an okay life? If on the other side of that, when you're back, you are like in a different place and you guys can start trying again. And they were really excited about that idea. And they were like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like the freedom that I could just see in their faces of, we
Hmm.
don't have to rush this right now. And her body, she has plenty of eggs in her ovaries. There's no risk of her like, oh my God, you're going to be a year and a half older. You're never going to get pregnant then. Right. So, like, making sure that, now if that person was 41, we might have a very different conversation. At like with her age, with her hormones being where they had been, I was like, this is focusing on fertility is the wrong thing right now. And it will happen for you a lot easier if you just focus on filling up your reserves.
It's kind of amazing, first of all, that you gave such an advice because it's so contradictory, right? You come to a fertility doctor, right? Quote unquote tells you do not reproduce right now. And this is
Yeah.
what I love about holistic healing. It's such a personalized care, and it's really from what I find with a lot of holistic practitioners, that they're never driven just by the greed, the data, whatever, the success rates, right? You're really truly able to look at the person and say, maybe now it's not the right time. And it's so powerful. That thank you for being out there and not pushing, this wonderful couple towards, like, let's say, IVF cycle, which is even more stressful than anything else. So I'm grateful that there's people out there like yourself.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's always like hard because you don't know how this couple is going to react and are they going to be upset with me because I don't want to help them get pregnant. But they were very open and like they've already done two and a half, two, they were like in the middle of an IVF cycle, but had already done two previous ones that failed. And they were like, what can we do to like help implantation? And I'm like, just save those embryos. Let's just put those on pause.
No, that's
So
amazing.
I'm sure their IVF doctor doesn't like me very much, but that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Thank
So
you for sharing that. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So the other part of your question I have not forgotten are what are some easy things people can do to support their fertility holistically? And I think I call the foundation is something that everyone can do all the time. And it doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter if you're trying to get pregnant right now. All of these things will help support the foundation so that either you're living more vitally or you're getting closer to fertile, whichever it is that you desire. So, first, food, like everyone talks about food. Eat a balanced, varied, colorful, anti inflammatory diet. And most of those things you can do on your own is you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables, more vegetables than fruit. I know we say fruits and vegetables together, but it's really like 7 to 8 servings of vegetables, 1 to 2 servings of fruit is the ideal. And then getting adequate protein, not skipping the complex carbohydrates, which a lot of women do. So as a woman, you need unprocessed carbohydrates. So I'm not talking about bread and pasta, but I'm talking about like a baked sweet potato or carrots in a lentil soup or, like some potatoes into something. Those things, the carbohydrates from that are really going to serve hormone production, specifically progesterone. So a lot of women go into deficiency of progesterone and don't realize that it's coming from their like, oh, I only eat meat or I eat a meat and vegetable diet and that's it. And they're missing out on this core food group that our bodies need specifically to produce the pro-life hormone called progesterone. So that's the food thing. Anti-inflammatory foods. Usually the highest inflammatory foods are going to be dairy, soy, gluten, sugar, right? And minimizing and or excluding them from your diet is perfectly fine. And then the next piece of that foundation is going to be water intake. And a lot of people forget that our bodies are mostly water. We need water to actually get hormones to where they need to go. So, absolutely essential that we're hydrated. My secret, like, easy formula for hydration is half your body weight in ounces. And then for every cup of coffee, every 1 cup of coffee, add 4 cups of water of the same size. So if it's an 8 ounce, then 8 times 4. If it's a 16-ounce cup of coffee, then 16 times 4. So add that to your baseline. And then for every cup of tea, and I'll get a lot of pushback on this, I know. So this is like all tea, not just caffeinated tea. All tea, you can add 2 cups of water for every cup. So, and the reason for that is most teas are dehydrating. So if you think about like herbs like nettle or red raspberry, these are common things that people are drinking while they're trying to conceive. And those herbal teas are actually still causing you to pee more, which is going to be dehydrating. So you still have to compensate for the fact that you're taking in something, even if it's good for you. You have to make sure that it's not dehydrating you too much and compensate for it. So that's the water spiel. And then the third foundation is sleep. And sleep is probably the fastest way to fertility. If we can get good, high quality sleep that is actually restorative, meaning you don't wake up multiple times through the night, you are asleep and in deep sleep states. We have a lot of like data geeks in our clientele, so they'll have an Oura ring and we'll be tracking their sleep
There we go.
cycles. Yeah,
I'm
right.
one of them. I'm obsessed. I think it was like such a life-changing moment just to be able to analyze your sleep and see
Yeah,
the differences, right? When you get a proper deep sleep, when you get a proper REM. Like I
yeah,
couldn't have done this interview if I didn't go to proper REM last night. My brain will
right.
be just all over the place. And it's just amazing to see this data.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like such good feedback. So if they are the type of people that want that feedback, like Aura Ring or one of these like new rings that's out, is perfectly fine to help document what's happening with the sleep and help address sleep issues. And then if you have a ring or not, usually the couple of hours before bed, screens are going to throw off the production of melatonin. So you're going to get lower quality sleep, but the melatonin that your brain produces is actually rejuvenative. So we need that hormone to be produced, ideally, not a supplement of melatonin, but ideally internally produced. That hormone is going to be the most potent antioxidant for our reproductive system. So, literally, healing and restoring reproduction is happening while we sleep with this hormone. So, one of my favorite things to do is get people to sleep more. And it's not
So
always
easy, right?
easy.
But why is it so hard these days in this lifetime? I don't know.
Gosh, it's hard. It's hard for me. I used to do this before we got pregnant. I was doing this religiously, but now I'm like, oh, but it's my 1 hour to watch something on TV or Netflix or whatever. It's hard. I get it. I completely get it. And I think that when we can get to a place where we love our bodies and how we feel when we wake up more than the hour or 2 hours that you get to binge on your favorite TV show at night. Like when one outweighs the other, then it's going to be really easy to make that choice. It's usually when in the moment it feels like, but this is so good for me, in terms of watching TV. Then we don't notice or we don't have enough reflection in the morning to be like, oh, I actually feel better on days that I didn't watch or didn't consume before going to bed. And if I can become more aware of that, if I can say I'm at like a 8 out of 10 energy when I don't watch it the night before versus 6 out of 10 when I do, then that awareness, as we start making those connections, our brain goes, wait a second, this is silly. Like, why am I choosing this if I know I'm going to feel better if I don't? So behavior change is challenging, as we know. Believe that awareness is kind of the key to it. And that awareness, even for food, right? Like people will always come in and say, I took gluten out of my diet for 3 weeks and it didn't do anything. I'm like, okay, let's try it for 6 weeks. And they're like, what? It didn't do anything. I'm like, just try it for a little bit longer with a little bit more awareness. And what they will notice is not what when they eliminate it, but when they add it back in and
Mm.
they feel shitty again, like, oh, I remember how I used to feel, right? And they're not going to want to eat that food anymore because they feel crappy when they eat it. So it's just like making those connections and giving the feedback loop to your brain to be like, hey, I don't actually feel great when I do this thing. Make me not do it anymore. And we will, and like either we'll get there or we need some coaching to get there, as I yawn. So that I think those three are the biggest foundations. And the last foundation piece is toxins. And if we can rid our environment and our body of toxins as much as possible, it will make a positive movement towards fertility. And the toxins are coming in from literally everywhere. So, um, I don't know if you want to get into them today. We can if you want.
That's a whole other subject, and
It
I'm
is,
so
it
into
is.
it. And that's like another my geeky side is finding anything from like environmental toxins that I
Yeah.
got into recently. which is a huge subject, like indoor air quality to, water. So I'm into all measurements as well because I feel like, there's no other way to really find out what's wrong because, right, like air and water, those are the things that are really hard to diagnose. But
Yeah.
two, there's some amazing, amazing technologies these days that actually allow us, as much as I feel like the climate and the quality is going down, but the level of devices and technology is going up. So we're actually able to at least diagnose it and then correct it if
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I think with fertility, the most well known are the plastics and the phthalates. Phthalates are in anything that has a fragrance or perfume. So those things are easy to get rid of as much as possible. You know, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to do it perfect. But if you can eliminate and lower your input, that's going to help your body function better.
Well, thank you for all this wealth of information. Again, I wish I knew you when I was trying to conceive. And unfortunately, I was one of those people. It was before my holistic health journey.
Mm,
So I was still in the place where I believed doctors and fully trusted medical advice, which, often obviously was great. And I had some amazing doctors, but I wish there was also this other layer, the holistic layer, that maybe made this experience not as tasking on my body and nervous system as it was.
yeah.
That's one thing that I hope to bring to more women out there and realize there's so much information today, right,
Mm,
that you can actually read. And I think oftentimes this is like one area that people often just go straight to like the medical advice because it's, fertility and it has to be done in a lab and
mm,
scientific, and there's this perception, but I don't think people even think, even people that are holistically inclined, I feel like they don't always think about it because they think it's something so hard that it needs that medical intervention,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it is. It's tough because we've made it. I feel like we have given our power away in some ways, right? Like when women, especially women's health has been medicalized in every aspect for centuries. It's like you have PMS, you're feeling upset about something, you must be PMS. If you're having hormonal dysregulation, let's give you birth control. If you're in perimenopause, let's pump you full of hormones. So, like every aspect of the female cycle is and has been kind of overtaken by the medical world. Even pregnancy, which, like, back in the day, in tribal communities, women had birth in tents. And then at some point, it was like, oh, it got too dangerous for you to have your own baby. So you need to do it in a hospital setting so that you can be safer. So, like, every thing that has been part of our bodies and the way that our bodies function has been kind of consumed by the medical world as a problem and an issue to fix when it comes to fertility, because there is, I believe, a lot of misinformation, and we don't we don't try to unlearn that information. Then we have a situation where we willingly hand over our power because we say, oh, well, they must know better than I do because, I only have a 20% chance of getting pregnant on my own. So I
don't get
should
me
just,
started with statistics, okay? And I defied all of them, and I'm just like one of the things that I was proud of because I had two of my babies in my 40s,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
had with all of my diagnostics and all of my stats, I had like 1% chance, right, having a baby, and then I'm having two separately. So it's just it was such a powerful proof for me that, I mean, you can get caught up in those statistics. I always knew like I had the power to, my body was healthy and
Yes.
strong, and I meant to be a mother, and I just refused to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I think seeing so many women kind of like struggling with the statistics, right? Well, I only have this chance,
Yeah.
and I only have like, one shot. I mean, we have plenty examples at this point, even people that rely on that process, right? And then like give up and then getting pregnant naturally because they're out of that stress, because of that system puts you in that such a stressful mode, and like there's
Yeah.
timelines and protocols. So just remembering our nature, right? And remembering how powerful we are. It's just such a simple
Exactly.
remedy. And part of me also wishes that there is more holistic practitioners out there that help women understand this power, and bring them home, bring them home to their own body. So I
Yeah.
know you're passionate about that as well. I don't know if you want to talk specifically to, because we do have a pretty big audience of holistic healers who are listening to this podcast. What can they do in their practice? That I feel like, fertility is one of those things that also a lot of healers try to maybe stay away from because it's been so medicalized, right? On both parts. How can they help
Yeah.
people on this journey?
Yeah. And so it's funny because I feel like a lot of holistic practitioners come out of training and are like, oh, I specialize in fertility. And in some ways, it's a good thing because they can help support all. When I talk to most of them, it's like they're actually doing preconception care, which is helping support people to optimize their body before they get pregnant and before they even start trying. Fertility is a little more nuanced and has a lot of layers. And it's almost like specializing in 15 things as part of fertility because you have to be able to do all of these other things really well. You have to get to all the root causes. You have to be really good at getting to the root cause. And then you have to be able to help support and navigate that person through whatever the root causes are. And ideally, you're doing that in a very short period of time because they only have so much time before they need to go get pregnant. So, fertility is a funny thing. And this is probably like 7 years ago now. I had a few practitioners that kept coming to me and being like, I need you to train me on what you do. And I was like, I don't have a training program. Like, I don't know what that would even look like. I'm just doing naturopathic medicine, right? Like, I was like, what are you talking about? I'm just doing the basics. And they're like, no, you're doing something different. And we can see it from the outside, but we don't know what it is. And we need you to train us. And so, over at some point, one of them convinced me to do a training program. So I started it, and then it's been continuing. And I speak at a lot of conferences. So a lot of practitioners get trained just from that, like basic, like here's how I interpret hormones and here's what we're doing with people. But then the deep mentorship program is a 9-month mentorship where we go through every underlying root cause and we figure out like if these things were happening, this is how you would approach it from a holistic perspective. And the funny thing is, they all want protocols because this is how our world is, right? Like, everyone's like, just give me the protocol, give me the shortcut. And I'm like, nope, that does not exist. And the reason it doesn't exist is because every person in front of you is unique and they're an individual. They're even their expression of gut issues is going to be different. So there's no magical gut protocol that's going to fix all of it. It's going to be what is the issue and what makes sense for this person. So I really like took on this idea that I want practitioners to be able to think through it instead of here's the protocol, I'm just going to like slam it down your throat because that's what my
Yeah.
teacher said to do.
This is where, AI gets really interesting, right? Like if you can be just replaced by AI, if you can just slap a protocol on it,
Yeah.
why do you need a person? Even why do you need a human?
Right. Yep. And I tell like we have We have 6 practitioners right now who are coming towards the end of their mentorship. And AI this year has been kind of insane. So they're all like, oh my God, we're going to graduate from this and we're not going to have any clients because it's everyone's just going to AI for fertility support. And I'm like, listen, they're not taking over what I do. I don't think they're taking over what you do because you have learned how to think. And that is what's missing in our education system is to actually make connections that AI cannot make. And I prove it to them again and again. Almost every other week there's a new client that will come in and say, I plugged in all of my labs into AI and this is what it told me. And I'm like, and what did you think about that? Like, you're still here, so obviously you want my thoughts on this. And they're like, well, it sort of was right, but it missed these other things that I have going on, and I don't see how it's connected. And I don't know how to make sense of it in the context of fertility. And I'm like, great, let's go through all of your labs from what I see, and then we can circle back to this AI thing. And we'll go through their labs from my perspective. And we get to the end of it and they're like, this was very different from what AI said. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, I didn't want to tell you that in the beginning, but I know, I'm aware.
Thank you for sharing that. So this program sounds really wonderful. Is it open to only physicians or like holistic practitioners of different modalities can do that as well?
Yeah, it's we have a lot of different types of practitioners. It's practitioners that have access to ordering lab work that we can accept. So like you don't have to understand all the labs. We go through it. We'll explain how to like do the interpretations, but you have to be able to order it wherever you are. So we have, for example, we have a practitioner in Germany right now who is doing the training, and in her country, she's able to order a lab work. So even though she's not a doctor and like doesn't have a certification of any sort that would allow it in the US, she has that authority in Germany. So I'm like, great, that works. As long as you can do what you need to do where you are, then we can work around it.
I love that. I love that you're kind of creating a whole other path for people to not just receive the care, but also give this care because we need more people like you and we need more people with a holistic approach in this
Hmm.
fertility industry, right? And even though they might be not administering the treatment itself, but just to have other kind of layers to that process, right? That is so one-sided right now. I just love what you do. And I feel like I have so many more questions for you. We can talk about the subject forever because I just been in the trenches. It's been like, a good, like I would say 5 years of my life,
Yeah.
not more. And I feel like I had to become my own doctor and I had to educate myself and a lot of those things and just even, question. I come from a background of like questioning everything just because I
Hmm.
grew up in the communist Russia and I learned early on in my age that things need to be questioned.
Yeah, you can't
I
just
would
take
be the one,
everything.
yeah, I can't just, be brainwashed. So I would be the one who would ask all those questions to my doctor. What is this metric? And what does this say? It's just, it's fascinating because I feel like, I want to understand what's happening in my body, just such a powerful tool. So you have these diagnostics today, but I think it's also very important for you actually, to read it and yes, have a practitioner, have the ChatGPT version, have the practitioner version, but also for you yourself to understand really what it means and what's happening in
Hmm.
your body. Just so empowering, I think, just to go through that process and really be like attuned. Like I'm also like 50% analytic, like 50% left brain, 50% right brain. So it's important for me to see the data, but also compare it to my own feelings. Like, okay, I can feel this in my body, or I do have this kind of symptoms. So I just want to empower people to also get like their own knowledge, but also work with somebody who can give you those other perspectives, right? Not just like one-sided picture, or maybe work with multiple practitioners or multiple doctors that you can then kind of make your own decision and use your intuition even, right, to see who's right for you.
Yep. I think and a lot of people will say, I'm talking to like 5 other people and I'm going to try to figure this out. And I'm like, great, what are you going to use to figure out who's the right person? And they were like, I don't know, logic and like whoever's the least expensive and blah, blah, blah. Like they'll kind of, there isn't a good framework to make these types of decisions. I said, okay, what I would like you to do is take away all the logic, just put it aside for like 20 minutes and sit with yourself, sit with each other, get into the heart space and see what your intuition wants you to do. And your intuition will guide you to who the right person is, because the reality is like there's so many different ways and lots of practitioners and so many amazing people. You just need to find the one for you. And when you find that one, you will know. And if it's not me, cool, no problem. Just let us know. It's all good. And it's like, it will be so freeing to be like, oh, I can just like listen to my intuition. What's that
Yeah.
mean? Right? Like,
Yeah.
I could talk for days on intuition.
Oh, okay. So you'll have to come back and we're gonna do an episode on intuition. But as we're running out of time, I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you any parting words of wisdom, anything you would like to share with our listeners.
For those that are trying on the fertility journey, if you've been trying for a bit, or even if you're just starting out on your journey, if there's a part of you, going back to this intuition, if there's a part of you that feels like something's not right, something's missing, your cycles feel out of whack, and you're like trying to ask your doctor what to do about it, these are the exact people that I have been building this app. It's called Madre Fertility, and you can access it online. It's madrefertility.com. And it is an app that will help you get to the root cause of your potential fertility struggles. Even if, like I said, if even if you're not trying yet and you're not sure that it's going to be a struggle, it's okay. You don't need to wait, right? This idea that we need to try for 6 to 12 months before we get any kind of support, to me is like dumb. It's totally dumb. It's like, wait, we're going to wait 6 to 12 months. We're going to have these women feeling like they're doing something wrong, not understanding how to make sense of what's happening, only to be told, oh, sorry, you're infertile, go get IVF, right? Like the whole system is just messed up. So, anyway, I'm like really upset about it, which is why I've spent like 3 years working with a tech genius to try and create a way for people to get feedback about what could be happening. It's not a diagnostic tool. It is just a tool to help you better understand what your body might be saying. And if it's signaling like, hey, you might have some gut hormone issues, like, let's deal with those before you get to the point of now you've been waiting a year hoping that something would happen when your body wasn't going to let it happen in the first place. So
Amazing.
save
Love that.
time, save time.
Well, thank you for developing that. I love that you're also moving into the tech space. We need more people like you in our industry. Love
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I hope that we can change how we think about fertility. That's my goal, is like get every woman on this planet to think differently about fertility, to go from the extreme of it's going to happen at the drop of a hat the very first time I try, to my fertility is going to suddenly drop off of a cliff at 35. They're literally both extremes that don't make sense. So let's just make it make sense. Let's demystify all of it.
I love your message and thank you for all the work you do and for all the trainings as well that you're providing to practitioners. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me, Yuli.
Like
Take care.